Now, the education that comes with being an apprentice is outstanding. You can start from ground zero as an apprentice, and the amount of education you will get inside of an apprenticeship. Now, once you become an apprentice, an indentured apprentice, you start off as a first step, a first period, a first level. And from there, its only way is up. As long as you're learning, as long as you're being productive, efficient, and actually getting through your apprenticeship, getting your homework done, passing tests, there's levels to this stuff. And sure, you do get blamed. People call you names. You get blamed for a lot of things. But when it comes down to it in reality, if something actually happens, the journeyman usually takes the blame. The coolest thing about being an apprentice is getting paid to learn. Now, sure, there are times when you'll be learning and you won't be getting paid, like apprenticeship classes. You're learning life skills. Now, you learn skills inside of an apprenticeship that are horizontal, that transfer to any other life thing. What are 5 reasons being an apprentice in a skilled trade in a blue-collar industry is the best position to be in? If you ever have gone through an apprenticeship, or if you're part of an apprenticeship, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, I cannot wait till this apprenticeship is done. I can't wait. I have 2 more years. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I cannot wait till I become a journeyman, whether you're an electrician or a plumber or a lineman or an ironworker. Being an apprentice seems like it's such a forever thing, and you're like, you can't wait to get done with it. For some of you who may be watching this video who don't know what an apprenticeship is or what even an apprentice is, an apprenticeship is on-the-job training where you get paid to learn. A lot of the times depends if it's a union apprenticeship or a non-union. You'll have in-class learning, on the weekends. You're gonna need a certain amount of hours in learning in classroom, learning in the books, taking tests, doing homework, and then you're gonna have a set amount of hours that you need to get outside in the field working, getting hands-on experience. But the cool thing about apprenticeship is you're getting paid to learn. Now, for some of you who don't know who I am, I'm Austin. I'm a journeyman lineman. I've been a lineman for roughly 3.5 years now. I went through an IBEW lineman apprenticeship in the Northwest. Took me 3 years, 3 months. Before that, I did tree trimming. I was a tree trimmer apprentice. I transitioned from being an apprentice at a tree trimming trade to get into the lineman apprenticeship because that's ultimately what I wanted to do, was become a lineman. And before that, I even did welding. So I have a little bit of experience in the trades. So with that being said, I think being an apprentice is one of the best positions to be in. And this is the first reason why. The first reason is the education. For a lot of us, we got into an apprenticeship or we got into a skilled trade because we're not good in school and we like to build things with our hands. We like to do things with our hands. We like to be outside on our feet working and being productive. Sitting in an office, sitting in a little cubicle does not appeal to us. Or going to college, for another 4 years and spending $100,000 to get some degree that we're still not even sure what kind of career we're gonna pursue. Pursuing a skilled trade and getting to an apprenticeship was something that appealed to us. Now, the education that comes with being an apprentice is outstanding. You can start from ground zero as an apprentice, and the amount of education you will get inside of an apprenticeship. Inside the alignment apprenticeship, like I'm familiar with, man, there's this massive book right here, which I was showing in the previous video, but man, this thing is 900 pages long, and this is the guidebook for linemen and cablemen. And this is just one of the books. I have probably 15 to 20 books, hard copy cover books that pertain just to the lineman trade, from electrical theory to rigging to transformers and capacitors and regulators. And there's so much stuff inside of a trade. The education you get along with being an apprentice is probably the most important thing that will be to you as an apprentice. And being an apprentice, being able to just be a sponge and soak it all in and just constantly be learning is one of the coolest things about being an apprentice, is because everywhere you go, you can be from ground zero, man. You get transferred from one job to a different job, doing a different kind of work. And you might not have any familiarity, any knowledge, any experience in that field, in that specific task that you're doing. But because you're an apprentice, hopefully you have a journeyman there, or you should have a journeyman there, someone there teaching you. And the education you're going to get on the job and in class, learning from your books, is outstanding. So to me, being an apprentice and the education that comes along with being an apprentice is hands down probably the best reason why being an apprentice is an awesome position to be in. Now, the second reason, it kind of goes along with education, is the fact that you're able to level up or step up. Now, like I was saying in the earlier in the video, becoming an apprentice and being an apprenticeship, depending on which trade you're in, there's levels to it, there's steps to it, there's periods to it. Now, depending, of course, I think electricians, there's like a 7-period apprenticeship. Lineman, it's a 7-step. You have steps, you have levels inside of an apprenticeship. And now for the lineman apprenticeship, you start off as, well, some places you start off as a pre-apprentice or a grunt, essentially a laborer, before you get indentured as an apprentice inside the apprenticeship. Now, once you become an apprentice, an indentured apprentice, you start off as a first step, a first period, a first level. And from there, its only way is up. As long as you're learning, as long as you're being productive, efficient, and actually getting through your apprenticeship, getting your homework done, passing tests, there's levels to this stuff. And this is super cool because, like I was saying previously, you can start from ground zero and not know nothing about the trade, have no experience in it, but you're a first step. You're brand new in the trade, you're green, you know nothing. You become a second step. Well, now you have, for the lineman trade, for instance, a step is 1,000 hours. So 1,000 hours on the job training, on the job working each month, you're sending in your hours. So once you hit 1,000 hours, you step up to a second step. And it's very similar amongst other trades as well. Any one of these massive trades. So from first to second, now you have 1,000 hours of experience. Hopefully you're learning, hopefully you're gathering a bunch of information, getting educated. From second step, you go to a third step. And every 1,000 hours, you're leveling up. You're getting the next step. Second step, and then now you're third step. Fourth step, you become a hot apprentice, which means you get to go up in the air. You get to operate hot sticks, put on big rubber gloves and sleeves, and work on 7,200 volts or whatever the system voltage is. You get to level up every 1,000 hours or whatever the set amount of hours are. And to me, that's super cool. Because with those step ups, with you bumping up and leveling up, you also get a pay increase, right? So you start off at, let's say, $27 an hour. You step up, you get bumped up to $31, and then $35, and then $40, and then $45, and then pretty soon you're journeyman, making journeyman rate. That could be every 6 months, every year, or whatever that time period is for you. You're getting a pay increase. What other career are you going to choose to get into where you're going to get a pay increase and be able to learn the amount of stuff you get in like a 3 to 5 year period? It's an amazing thing, and that's why being an apprentice is a really cool position to be in. The third reason why being an apprentice is pretty cool and one of the better positions to be in, even though if you're thinking right now, you're like, being an apprentice actually sucks. This reason is because you don't get blamed. And now actually you might be thinking, I get blamed for everything. What do you mean? I'm the apprentice. I get blamed for every little thing that goes wrong. And sure, you do get blamed. People call you names. You get blamed for a lot of things. But when it comes down to it in reality, if something actually happens, the journeyman usually takes the blame, or at least they should. The apprentice should be under journeyman supervision. And if something severely happens that, maybe someone gets hurt, worst case Ontario gets killed, whose fault is it really? It's not just the apprentice's fault. Even though they might blame it on the apprentice, it's not the apprentice's fault. The apprentice is the apprentice. He's learning from the other journeyman, the foreman on the crew. Maybe it's a crew effort. Maybe you're working side by side with a journeyman right next to you. So things usually aren't your fault when it comes down to it. Yes, you might get blamed. Yes, you usually do get blamed. That's just kind of part of it. But when it comes down to it, apprentices usually don't get blamed, especially when it comes down to big things that may happen. Apprentices are usually the clear. Thing number 4, why being an apprentice is great, awesome position to be in, is getting paid to learn. Now think about going to college. You're paying $100,000, $200,000, whatever tuition costs to go to a 4-year college, whatever degree you're getting and you're paying all this money. Well, are you getting paid to be there and learn? Probably not. And then not to mention, maybe you find an internship. I don't know, do interns get paid? Sure, that's kind of like on the job training. The coolest thing about being an apprentice is getting paid to learn. Now, sure, there are times when you'll be learning and you won't be getting paid, like apprenticeship classes on Saturdays or on the weekends or whenever the apprenticeship classes are, maybe they're during the week. Now, if the company decides they want to pay you or your foreman's like, hey, I'm going to cover you, that's between you and the company. For the most part, you're training, in class learning or during the weekends, you don't get paid, but the majority of your apprenticeship, the cool part is during the work, whenever you're working, you're getting paid and you're learning every single day, or you should be trying to learning something new every single day. And that's a cool thing about being an apprentice. And one of the coolest things, the apprenticeship is specifically for apprentices learning on the job, but you're getting paid, and it's one of the coolest things ever about apprenticeship and being an apprentice. The fifth and final thing why being an apprentice is one of the coolest and best positions to be in is because you are learning valuable life skills. Skills that may pertain to your trade you're working in as an apprentice, electrician, plumber, HVAC tech, lineman, ironworker, boilermaker. It doesn't matter what trade, but you're learning life skills. Now, you learn skills inside of an apprenticeship that are horizontal, that transfer to any other life thing. I've learned a lot of things in my apprenticeship, just like the discipline to being able to work long hours, having to focus on things like schoolwork and tests and studying, those sort of mental things you learn throughout an apprenticeship, but then also the hands-on skills you get, right? Like learning electrical theory and how to hook up power lines essentially and like do those kinds of things. Now I know how to like wire up a house if I need to, or fix an outlet or rigging. There's a lot of different things, knots and these things that I use in my daily life, or I can. If it wasn't for me going through the lineman apprenticeship and learning, on the job, I might not have these skills. These skills I learned inside the apprenticeship, like the discipline and like just being able to learn, those things carry on through your career for a long time. As long as you have an open mind and have that sort of mentality and personality to want to learn, then like those sort of things are awesome. You're learning skills both mentally and physically that are going to help you throughout your career, in the trade you're working in, and just in life in general, in your personal life. Maybe you start a business, there's things that you've learned inside the apprenticeship. There's multiple different things that can directly translate right into having your own business. Learning life skills, both physically and mentally, inside of an apprenticeship is the fifth reason why being an apprentice is one of the coolest positions to be in. So hopefully you can learn from these 5 things why being an apprentice is one of the best positions to be in, and why getting into an apprenticeship is one of the coolest things, between learning on the job, leveling up, making money, the education, the book work, all these things I listed and explained, just a handful of reasons why being an apprentice is a really good position to be in. Hopefully you can learn from this video with Blue Collar EDU, here to expose, teach, educate you about blue collar career opportunities and things that'll help you getting started in a skilled trade. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one.